What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we're gonna shoot out these two cabs. The Mesa 4x12 Rectifier Oversized cab and the Vader 4x12 cabinet. Let's do it. Alright guys, thanks for checking this video out today. This one's gonna be a little different for me. I have never shot out cabs before and I'm still trying to figure out the best way to go about it. But over the weekend, I actually scored my first ever Vader cab. I've been after one of these cabs for probably about 10 years and just have never been able to find one. They're really hard to track down. They were made in small quantities. They're not produced anymore. So usually they fetch a premium whenever they come up. I've never had the chance to play one and I finally got one, so I figured what a better time to start a cab shootout series than now. So if you guys are unfamiliar with the Vader cabinets, they were made by a smaller company, and back right when I got into gear about 2010, that cab and the Mesa Oversized Rectifier cab were kind of like all the rage. Like those two were the biggest names in cabinets for hardcore and metal amplifiers at the time, as far as like what was in, you know what I mean? Like what was trending. So these two were very popular at the time. Unfortunately, the guy who made the Vader cabinets, I believe he had some health issues and he kind of had to quit the company. So even though the company grew to be very popular very quickly, they kind of faded into obscurity kind of fast as well. Not because the products were bad, but because he couldn't make them anymore. Not that long ago, 3-4 years ago, something like that, he made another run of cabs because so many people were requesting that he made some more. He made another run and I think that's pretty much it. I don't know that anything else has come of the company since then. So for all intents and purposes right now, these are out of production, the company's out of business, and the Mesa you can obviously still get, but I have one of the older models that is also out of production that kind of has the overhang going on. It's a slant straight, as everybody calls it, or an overhang cab. So this is my oldest piece of equipment that I own, as in I've had this cabinet longer than I've owned any other gear in my entire collection. I bought this in 2011. It was my first nice cab. I came from a Behringer Ultra cab and I knew I had to upgrade, so I bought this thing. It's played so many shows with me. I couldn't even tell you, hundreds of hours on the speakers, and it just sounds great. It's always been a really good sounding cab to me. Back in the mid to late 2000s and early 2010s, both these cabs were super popular. I think everybody was going for that super big bassy tone. The Vader cabinets were popular because they're even more oversized than the Mesa, but they also have Eminence Legends in them, which at the time they were a special speaker made for Vader, and they're supposed to be a very clear, transparent speaker, so whatever amp you put through it, they're kind of like a neutral bass, whereas, you know, the Mesa comes with the V30s in it. They have that big upper mid spike that you guys are all kind of familiar with. So yeah, they're two very different sounding cabs. I've only played the Vader briefly since I got it over the weekend. I honestly can't say that I'm in love with it, but I'm happy that I got to try it, and I'm happy that I have it here for this shootout. So I asked in my Facebook group for you guys to vote on which amp that you wanted me to use. I had the Stealth, the XXX, and the KSR Orthos, and the Stealth got the most votes. So that's what we're gonna use, and I think that's the best idea anyways, because most people are more familiar with that amp. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close mic each cab, I'm gonna play 3 riffs on each cab, and then I'm gonna play 1 riff. I have a little AT2020 set up as a room mic directly between both cabinets. I'm gonna play 3 riffs on the Mesa close mic'd, and then 1 riff on the room mic. We're gonna switch over to the Vader, play the same 3 riffs, same riff on the room mic, and then we will compare them. And you guys can let me know how you feel after the fact. So real quick before we do that, if this is your first time here at my channel, I would really appreciate it if you like this video to consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out. I'm constantly running through awesome high gain amps, shooting them out with other high gain amps at viewer request. Also checking out awesome pedals, guitars, pickups, and now figuring out a way to do cab shootouts. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, I would really love to have you guys keep coming back in the future. So consider subscribing on your way out. All right, guys, so that's all the riffs between the two cabs. Real quick, I'm going to listen back on the monitors and see how differently they recorded and kind of give you my thoughts on that. But in the room, the Vader is a little bit bigger sounding. It's more hollow. Now, granted, I am sitting a little bit further away from it, so that's gonna come into play as well, which is why I wanna listen to the monitored sounds. But what I noticed about it right off the bat is it's bigger, it's very neutral. There are no frequencies that really stick out. And the low end is just much looser. It's much less immediate than it is with the Mesa cab. Now, a lot of people describe the Mesa cab as kind of like a boomy cab because it's oversized, but I've never really found that to be the case because the Mesas are sealed airtight on the baffle and it's completely fixed. There's no air coming through the front. There's no, there's no leakage. They literally test them with air pressure to make sure that air's not coming out before they leave the factory. So this is an airtight cabinet. They always have sounded very tight to me. Now, granted, of course, there's gonna be a little bit bigger, lower frequencies. It's gonna sound a little bit more hollow because there's more internal volume within the cab than a standard size cabinet would. But I still think that this is a nice, tight sounding cab while being a little bit bigger and a little bit fuller than like the traditional 412 cab that I play a lot of my videos on from Mesa. So compared to the Vader, it's tighter for sure. It's got more upper mid frequencies. Generally, I think it's just a more pleasant sounding cabinet for what I like to hear. I like a lot of upper mids in my tones because I like them to be able to cut through and be mix ready. This I could see working very well for a death metal band where you don't really need to cut through as much and the guitars aren't quite as defined, or something doomy or sludgier where you just want a big wall of tone thing going on. I may play around with the speakers in the cab and then check it out sometime in the future and see, how the cab reacts to different speakers because now that I have it, I kind of don't really want to let it go, even though I'm not in love with it just because they're so hard to find. So anyways, that's my thoughts on the in the room sounds. I'm going to check out the sounds that I recorded and then give you guys my final thoughts on this. So stay tuned just a second. All right, guys, so my final thoughts on this little cab shootout. When I went back and listened to the audio, it was pretty much exactly as I would have expected. The Vader cab is much more low mid based. It's a lot more hollow sounding. It's not as bright in the upper mid range. Probably not gonna sit in a mix very well in a recording, honestly. If you EQ'd the amp to the cab more, because I did not change my settings between each amp, I dialed it in the way I normally would. Obviously, you could probably make it sound better for the Vader cab, but again, I just wanted things to be equal so you're only hearing the differences in the cab and nothing else. So, listening back on recording, the one thing that did surprise me though is that the Vader cab, the low end seemed to be tighter when you close mic'd it, whereas the low end on the Mesa seems slightly mushier. And that could be the V30 versus the Legend. Could be a number of things. But in the room, the Mesa cab sounded much tighter to my ears than did the Vader cab. So just something to keep in mind. There's so many variables, but this was fun. I hope you guys like this. If you have any suggestions for the next one, let me know, because I'd like to keep doing the cab shootouts. A lot of people have asked me for them, and this was kind of like getting that cab kind of made me really like stop and think, like, how can I do this that would really show the differences between the cabs. So I hope that this was really helpful for you guys. I really enjoyed doing it. I'm gonna try to figure out if you guys can help me work out the bugs, that'd be awesome. But yeah, moving forward, I'm definitely gonna do more of these videos. So again, thanks for stopping by. If you guys are new to my channel, please, if you like the video, hit the like button on the way out. Consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one. I'd really enjoy to have you guys around for the long haul. Yeah, that's it. Kyle here. We'll see you guys next time. Bye!